Hi, I'm back. It's Mr. Arbizu. We're going to do something a little bit different today. We're not going to be inside the book because I'm going to teach you how to solve linear equations. The book does a ho-hum job of it. So I need to show that to you guys so you guys don't come back and say, man, the book does a bad job. I don't do a bad job. Let's get right started. So I had given this worksheet to you guys on Monday, and it's going to be due Tuesday. And I know some of you guys are going to say, well, I don't know how to do it. Well, you could either look it up. It says solving multi-step equations. You can find that on our internet, or you can check this video out. So I'm going to do problems 2, 6, 10 on the front, and I don't know what we're going to do on the back, but I'm not just going to do 3. So here we go. I'm going to do the same series of steps for each one of these. For each one, I'm going to rewrite and simplify. After I rewrite and simplify, then I'm going to solve using some algebra. How do I solve? It usually involves isolating x, either by adding or subtracting stuff and by multiplying and dividing stuff. So it's two main components. Let's see this. This first problem, I've got negative 12 equals 2 plus 5v plus 2v. So before I solve, I want to rewrite and simplify. I don't have to rewrite anything, but I could simplify. On the right-hand side of this equation, I got 5v's and 2v's. What's 5 of them and 2 of them? They're like terms. That's 7 of them. So I could rewrite this as negative 12 equals 2 plus 7v. Could I combine these two? No, they're not like terms. I've got 7 v's, and then I have the constant 2. So I'm done with the rewrite and simplify phase. Now I go on to solving. How do I solve? To solve, I want to isolate the variable. So to isolate the variable, we usually get rid of anything that's being added or subtracted to it. So here I have a positive 2. To get rid of this positive 2, I'm going to subtract 2 from the right-hand side of the equal sign. Here's the equal sign. But if I subtract 2 over here, I got to subtract 2 on the left-hand side of the equal sign. So let's see what happens. Negative 12 and negative 2 is negative 14 equals 2 minus 2. What is that? That's 0. 2 minus 2 is 0. What's 0 plus 7v? That's just 7v. The last step, I have 7 times v. How do I undo multiplication by 7? I'm going to divide by 7. I'm going to divide this side by 7, and I'm going to divide this side by 7. Because what you do to one side, you must do to the other side. So let's see what happens. Negative 14 divided by 7, that's negative 2, equals, here I've got 7 divided by 7. What is 7 divided by 7? It just doesn't go away. It's a 1. What's 1 times v? It's just v. I have v isolated, therefore this is my answer. And you could go ahead and plug it back into the original equation to check it. I'm going to do that real quick. I get negative 12 equals 2 plus 5 multiplied by negative 2 plus 2 times negative 2. Let's see what this is. I got negative 12 equals 2 minus 10 minus 4. I'm going to simplify this. This is 2 minus 10 is negative 8. Negative 8 and negative 4. Yep, that is negative 12. So here we go. We're going to go on to number 6. Here we go. Again, in number 6, I want to rewrite and simplify. Rewrite and simplify. And then I'm going to solve. How do I solve? I want to isolate x. I want to solve. Oh, in this case, I'm going to isolate the variable r. Isolate the variable, which in this case is r. So let's see. Our rewrite and simplify step. Could I rewrite anything on the left-hand side? Nope, I just got negative 1. Could I rewrite or simplify anything on the right? Yeah. Negative 3r plus 2r. I need to combine these. Negative 3 and positive 2, that's just negative r. So I get this. Negative 1 equals negative r. Nothing is being added to the r. All I got is this negative r. It's the same thing as negative 1 equals negative 1 times r, or negative 1r. So I want to solve for r. It's not isolated because I have this negative 1. So what could I do? just as before, if I'm multiplying by -1, I could undo this multiplication by dividing both sides by -1. What you do to the right, you must do to the left. Do to the right, you do to the left. So let's see, -1 divided by -1, that's just +1. On the right-hand side, -1 divided by -1, it's +1. +1 times r is r, so there's my solution. And I could check it if I want. Let me see. I got -1 equals -3 times 1 plus 2 times 1. -3 times 1 is -3. I'm using PEMDAS. I don't do 1 plus 2 first. 2 times 1 is 2. What's -3 plus 2? That is -1, so that works out. Let's go to number 10, and then we'll do the beastie ones on the back side. So number 10, I'm going to rewrite. I have this 3, and I have no symbol in between the 3 and the parentheses, so that means I need to distribute this 3. Distribute. That's another word for multiplication. So I have 75, and I'm rewriting this. 3 times -6n, well, 3 times -6 is -18. It has an n. And then 3 times -5, that's -15. All right, so I did my rewrite. There's nothing that I could simplify here. Nothing combines because they're not like terms. I can't simplify anything over here. So now I'm on to doing some algebra. I'm going to solve by isolating n. So it's being multiplied by -18 and it's being subtracted by 15. I want to isolate this part first. You do not get rid of this division by -18 first. You can, but you're going to have to divide this by -18, this by -18, and this by -18. And that's not nice. So I'm going to do this first. I'm going to add 15 to this side. But I'm changing the weight. I just added like 15 pounds, so I need to add 15 pounds over here to keep it in equality or equilibrium. So let's see what happens. 75 and 15, that's 90. On the right-hand side, I've got -18n. And then 15 minus 15, that's 0. What's -18n plus 0? It's just -18n. So I'm on the last step. I've got -18 times n. To undo this multiplication by -18, I'm going to divide each side by -18. Let me see. Is that 5? I got to check. -18 over -18, that's +1n. 90 divided by -18, a positive divided by a negative is negative. Is it 5? Yeah, it's 5. Let me check it. I think this is my answer, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to do 18 times 5. If these guys multiply to give me 90, then I'm on the right track. 8 times 5, that's 40. Carry a 4. 5 and 1 is 5 plus 4. Yep, I'm right. Okay, so I'm glad I checked. My answer is -5. Again, I could throw this back into the original problem to verify that it is the solution. I'm going to do it real quick in my head. Let me see. -6 and -5 is 30. 30 minus 5 is 25. If I got 3/4, that's 75. All right, so that's right. Let's go on to the back. I'm going to do, oh man, this is a little bit tougher. I'm going to do 12, 16, and 20. Here's 12. I got a lot of action on the left-hand side and not much action on the right. So on the left, I'm going to rewrite. How do I do that? Well, I'm going to distribute. 6 times 6v, and then 6 times 6 will become 36v plus 36. I still got this -5, and I still have this 1 plus 6v on the right-hand side. So I rewrote. Now I'm going to simplify. I see that there are some like terms. 36v on the left. What could I combine 36v with? Nothing. But 36 and -5, they could combine. 36 minus 5, that's just 31. So I'm going to rewrite this as 36v plus 31. On the right, I've got 1 plus 6v. Now I'm on to the solving step. So typically when we're solving, we want to isolate the variable. One thing that I didn't do on the other side of the worksheet, because the problems didn't really need it, is I want all the terms with the variable on one side of the equation. And I typically remove the smaller thing. So I want all variable expressions on one side. And then I want everything without a variable on the opposite side. So I'm going to do this. I want to bring the 6v over to this side. How do I subtract? No, man, this is a positive 6v. I'm going to subtract this over to this side and subtract it over to this side. Notice that I put the 6v underneath the other expression with a v. 6v minus 6v, that's just 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. Notice that I put the 6v under the other expression with the v. 36v's minus 6v is 30v. But don't I have something else on the left-hand side? I sure do. I got this 31. So I'm going to write that there. I'm about 2 steps away from getting v by itself. And this seems like a normal 2-step equation now. We've got 30v plus 31 equals 1. So I'm going to get rid of this 31 by subtracting. Let me see. 31 minus 31, that's 0. But over on the left, I don't just have 0. I have 0 and this 30v. So I'm going to write 30v. That just came down. And then on the right, I've got negative 31 plus 1. I've got 31 negatives and 1 positive. One of them cancel out, and I'm left with 30 negatives. So I'm going to move this over here. I've got 30v equals negative 30. What do I do? Well, if I have 30 times v, to undo multiplication by 30, I divide each side by 30, and I get my solution. 30 divided by 30 is 1. 1 times v is just v. Negative 30 over positive 30 is simply negative 1. This is my answer. We got 2 more. Man, I see some double distribution. Double distribution. Okay, so that means I'm gonna need a rewrite. Let me move this up a little bit. I need to take 3 and distribute it to 8 and to 8n because they're both inside these parentheses. And then I need to do the same thing with this negative 6. I got n minus 4 inside the parentheses, so I got to distribute this negative 6 to both. So here we go. I got negative 10n, that's not changing. 3 times 8, what is that? That's 24. 3 times 8n, what is that? 24n's. On the right-hand side of the equal sign, negative 6 times n is negative 6n. Negative 6 times negative 4, a negative times a negative is a positive 24. All right, I rewrote. Now I want to simplify by combining like terms. On the right-hand side of the equal sign, nothing can be combined. But on the left-hand side of the equal sign, I've got negative 10 n's and 24 n's. Things involving n's, they could be combined. So let me see, 24 of them minus 10, that's 14 of them. I still got this other, wait a minute. What did I forget? I know that this is positive, so I'll put the positive. I forgot this 24. Let's bring that guy down. All right. So now I'm on to the solving phase. To solve, I want to bring everything with a variable over to one side, either the left or the right, but not both. And then all my non-variable expressions over to the other. So I typically like doing this. What's bigger, 14, positive 14, or negative 6? This is bigger. So I want to bring this guy over to this side. Do I have to do that? Not necessarily, but typically it makes my life easier. So how do I bring a negative 6n, or how do I eliminate this? Well, the opposite of subtracting 6n is adding 6n. What you do to the right, you do to the left. So I'm going to add 6n over here. Notice that this n, it's on the same column. These n's are under the same column also. So when I simplify, I've got the number 24. That's not changing. But 14 n's plus 6 n's, that's 20 n's. And then on the right, 6n minus 6n, that cancels out. That's just 0. I don't want to write it, but there is a 0. What's 0 plus 24? 0 plus 24, that's 24. I'm almost done. I got n by itself, but now I need to start bringing everything away that doesn't involve n over to the other side. So I need to bring this 24, or I got to get rid of it by subtracting 24 and subtracting 24. Now, I love this problem because some of you guys kind of go a little weird when you do this. What's 24 minus 24? It's 0. I am choosing not to write it because I know what 0 plus 20n is. 0 plus 20n is 20n. But on the right-hand side, I've got 24 minus 24. This time, I am choosing to write it. Why? Because I've got just the number 0. I don't leave it blank. And some of you guys tend to do that. They're just like, oh, I got 20n equals, I got 20n equals. No, 20n equals 0. So, I've got 20n equals 0. Let me bring it over here without the smiley face. 20n equals 0. 20 times n equals 0. To undo this multiplication, I'm going to divide each side by 20. What's 20 over 20? That's a big fat 1. What's 1 times n? It's just n. What's 0 divided by 20? That's 0. This is my answer. Folks, we're on the last problem, and yeah, they usually save the best for last. Let's see what happens here. I'm a little sick. So I keep sniffling. I got the sniffles. Let me see. Just like in the previous problem, I got double distribution. I've got this negative 11. That's not changing. But this 10 needs to be distributed to both of these. All right. 10 times p, 10p. 10 times 10, 100. That's a triple-digit number. All right, let me see. And then I have the equals 4. Remember, I'm rewriting right now. Negative 5 times 2p. A negative times a positive, that's a negative 10p. Negative 5 times 11, I love multiplication by 11. It's 55. So now what do? I rewrote. Now I'm going to simplify the left and simplify the right. I'm not doing any algebra. I want to find an easier way of writing this. I want to combine any like terms. The 10p, I can't add anything with it. I'm just going to bring it down. But what's 100 minus 11? That's 89. Positive 89. On the right-hand side, I've got this negative 10p. I'm just going to bring it down. But I've got this 4 and this negative 55. A positive 4 and a negative 55, that's negative 51. All right, almost done. I'm done with my rewrite. I'm done with my simplify. Now I'm on to the solve phase. So I want to bring everything with the variable p over to one side and everything without p over to the other. So I'm going to begin by adding 10p. Why? What's bigger, 10p or negative 10p? Well, this is bigger. So I want to bring the smaller thing over. This is smaller. How do I get rid of this? Negative 10p. The opposite of subtracting 10p is adding 10p. And what I do to the right, I got to do to the left to keep it in equality. 10p and 10p, 10 plus 10, that's 20p. I still have this 89. I'm just going to bring it down. What's 10p minus 10p? That's 0. And this time I'll write just to show you that 0 minus 51, I didn't even need to write that 0 because 0 minus 51 is just negative 51. On the left, I've got 20p plus 89. I'm going to do it a little bit faster. I need to get rid of this 89. I'm going to do that by subtracting 89 to both sides. Let me see. 89 minus 89, that's 0. 0 plus 20p, that's 20p. On the right, both of these are negative, so I got to add. Let me see. 9 and 1, that's 10. Carry a 1, 13, 14. All right, I get this. I told you I was sick. I can't breathe. I could breathe. Whew. All right, I got 20 times p equals negative 140. I'm going to undo this by dividing this side by 20 and this side by 20. 20 over 20 is 1. 1 times p is p. And on the right, a negative divided by a positive is negative. 140 divided by 20, that's just negative 7. That's the answer, and we're done.